What is going on, everybody? Welcome to my channel. My name is Tony. I'm a commercial pilot currently working as a banner tow and skydive pilot. And my goal for this video is to show you the steps to becoming a professional pilot. I'm going to give you some tips and hopefully clear up any questions you might have in the next 5 minutes. Come join me. Ever since I was young, I was drawn to aviation as a career. I was drawn to the idea of traveling for work, the idea of taking people from point A to point B and flying cool airplanes. But I didn't grow up around aviation. I didn't grow up around pilots, really. And so my first question was always, how do I even start? This seemed impossible for me. But, the answer is quite simple. And in my recommendation, the place to start is with an intro flight. Now, what is an intro flight? An intro flight is an introductory flight, as the name suggests, and it's a 30-minute to about an hour flight. It's about $100 to $200. You'll go up with an instructor. You will go fly around your area, and you'll get to see what it's like. Aviation is one of those careers where people have an idea of what it's like, but if you haven't flown in a small piston aircraft, you're not really going to know what that feels like until you try it. So you're going to want to try it before you commit to it, because it's a lot different than flying in a large airliner. And you're going to have to be in one of these piston aircraft for 1,500 hours at least. So it's going to be something you're going to want to try out first. And I always suggest just going to your local airport. Most small airports, general aviation airports, have small flight schools where they do these introductory flights. And so just Google in your area. Most towns have a little airport, and most airports have these flight schools. So check it out. Okay, you just landed from your intro flight. You're all excited. You loved it. So now what's the next step? So the first big step is to begin your private pilot training. The private pilot certificate is the first in a series of certificates and ratings that you will need to become a professional pilot. And what does that training consist of? So it consists of flight training, which is maneuvers, emergency procedures, and so on. A written examination, which is multiple choice, a computer-based exam. A medical exam, so you'll have to go to an AME, an aeromedical examiner, which is a doctor specific to aviation, and get a third-class medical certificate, though I always suggest, as a tip, to people that want to be professional pilots, to go ahead and get a first-class medical certificate, which is what you need to be an airline pilot, just to make sure that you qualify for one. You don't want to start flight training and then find out later on that you have a disqualifying condition with your health. So once you get that, you'll be eligible to get signed off for solo training, followed by a check ride. A check ride is just an aviation exam consisting of an oral portion where an examiner will ask you questions one-on-one, followed by a practical portion where you will demonstrate your maneuvers to the examiner. Now that we have our private pilot's license, we can move on to the instrument rating. Now, the instrument rating is, to put it simply, what allows us to fly through clouds, through fog, through conditions of low visibility. This is particularly important for a professional pilot, because all jet flying, all flying for airlines is done under instrument flight rules. You're on an instrument flight plan, so it is particularly important in that regard. And that will consist of flight training and a written exam, followed by a check ride, which, as we covered, is an oral exam and a practical exam. Okay, now that we have an instrument rating, now we can look at getting a commercial pilot certificate. A commercial pilot certificate is an important milestone in a professional pilot's career, because this is where we can now legally get paid for our pilot services. The commercial pilot certificate training consists of flight training, some maneuvers, a written exam, and another check ride. Up to this point, we've only flown single-engine aircraft, but we know that these corporate jobs fly jets that are multi-engine. The airlines fly jets that are multi-engine. So how do we jump up from our single engine to a multi-engine? Well, we do that by getting a multi-engine rating. The multi-engine rating is an add-on to our commercial that's going to allow us to fly an aircraft with more than one engine. So the flight training consists of some maneuvers, emergency procedures, and a check ride. There's no written exam for this, so it makes it pretty quick. Most people get it done in about 10 to 15 hours. Okay, so following the conclusion of the multi-engine training, we will have completed the core certificates and ratings that we need to get to the airlines, to get to a jet job. However, we're going to be needing a lot of time. Like I said, we need to get to 1,500 hours. So how do we get to that mark? Well, most people do it by flying a low-time job, such as banner towing, skydiving, and most commonly by flight instructing. The flight instructor rating is one of the most difficult to obtain, and for good reason. Training the next generation of pilots is a difficult task that requires you to be on your game with knowledge and flight maneuvers. So, this can be broken down into 3 types of flight instructors: a CFI, a CFII, and an MEI. CFI allows you to teach private pilot students and commercial students. A CFII allows you to instruct instrument students, and an MEI allows you to instruct multi-engine students. This training consists of 2 written exams: the FOI, Fundamentals of Instruction, or the FIA, Flight Instructor Airplane. This will consist of creating lesson plans, flight training from the right seat, and ultimately a check ride for each of these 3 types of flight instructors. Okay, so now we've looked at the steps that it takes to become a professional pilot. There are some other things in there you can get, tailwheel, seaplane ratings, but we'll cover that in other videos. If you have any questions, please put it in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and like, and we'll see you on the next one.